All right. Here we are, episode 237, Purple Friday show. You didn't want to be here. Didn't want to do this episode this week, but here we are. Ravens lose to the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round playoffs and a heartbreaker. Numerous amounts of mistakes. I think they showed a stat. All the teams that are left in the playoff have committed 0 turnovers. It just a lot of players that have been to the Super Bowl plenty of times, and players that have, whether they've won it or not, have said, it's one of those things, right? You can't turn the ball over in the playoffs. You hope that you get a chance to redeem yourself and you get a chance to rectify the situation. And, like the Ravens did on defense when after Lamar threw his pick, it didn't burn them because the Ravens were able to get a stop against the Bills. But you gave a possession away to the opposing team. The Ravens were driving on, I think, every possession that the Ravens fumbled or turned the ball over like that. The Ravens were literally on the Bills' side of the field when they did it. They were across the 50. Like they were driving down the field. Like the entire game, the Ravens offense could do whatever they wanted, it felt like. They were sending blitzes all kinds of times. Like Sean McDermott, they said Sean McDermott's Bills were blitzed more in this game than they did any time during the season, which we've seen with the Ravens since Lamar has been here as the quarterback. A lot of teams will blitz heavy against the Ravens. But we even said, I think in the chat, where are the screen plays? Where are the little dump off plays to combat the blitzes? I don't think we saw one schemed quarterback run in this game. Lamar had like 6 or 7 rushes, I think, in this game, but a lot of that just came from scrambling out of the pocket. We didn't see any of that design QB runs, which is wild because that's exactly what the Bills did. It's exactly what the Bills did. Every time they got into within the 30-yard line for the Ravens, they just gave it to Josh Allen, like, all right, just run up the middle. They are literally doing QB runs, doing QB dives, and having him run, between the guard and the tackle on the right side, and he would just run. He just ran. He didn't have impressive passing stats. He didn't really need to. The defense did a good job. James Cook did a pretty decent job running the football. And of course, the scoop by Von Miller in that play when Lamar fumbles the ball sets them up right pretty much in the red zone to go score easy touchdown. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how I think over the last 48 hours, the amount of vitriol that has been at Mark Andrews' feet since I think the state of the Ravens, even though it was yesterday, even before that, because they hadn't heard from him. They had clean out on Monday, wasn't there for clean out. Lamar in his press conference, I think after the game, even stated, Lamar's our guy. I trust Lamar. I mean, I trust Mark with everything. And, they've been there since the beginning. And then Harbaugh, said in the state of the Ravens, he's one of the most, hardworking, dedicated players on this team. And there was a lot of bad, I get it. Fans are upset. Everybody's upset by how it happens. And I think a lot of Ravens fans, we have PTSD still from, I think, that 2011 AFC Championship game of Lee Evans. Like we have that. It felt like that all over again. It did. It felt like that all over again. And I think a lot of fans just didn't know how to deal with it. And look, Lamar had his issues during the game. He throws the bad pick. Bateman ran the wrong route. But even Lamar said, I should have looked the safety off. I didn't look the safety off, and he was right there to get the interception. But then that bad fumble play, it was a bad snap by Tyler Linderbaum, who also now we've seen now in the playoffs the last few years having real bad plays on offense. Yeah. Like he's really good during the season, but he seems to be making these bad plays, bad snaps, all kinds of stuff during the playoffs. He was getting bull rushed all game, that one play where Lamar tripped over his foot because he was being backpedaled into Lamar. So you've seen, your guys, Tyler Linderbaum's an all-pro. Mark Andrews has been, I think, an all-pro. Lamar Jackson, an all-pro. When your guys are making mistakes, it's hard to win football games. I will say, even with the Lamar fumble, I think we only were down a touchdown. You were only down a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like this game was winnable. The reason why I think everybody is so focused on Mark Andrews is because of that play in the fourth quarter. The Ravens are driving down the field. It looks like we're getting ready to score. They did everything they wanted. Mark Andrews gets the ball and uncharacteristically does a jump back, whatever he wants to try to be like Zay Flowers. Sticks the ball out like this, like a chicken wing, like they do a chicken wing thing, and bam, just pops it right. Milano just pops it right out.
Yeah.
And so uncharacteristic. When they showed the screen, like the little still of the play, and it was like Mark just what we've always seen. Mark just goes upfield. He either goes upfield, and he'll dive down for like 3 extra yards or whatever, and keeps the ball moving upfield. That play, we never seen Mark Andrews do something like that. He's not athletic enough to do. I expect Isaiah Likely to make a play like that.
Likely, yeah.
Likely to make a play like that, but not Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is not the most athletic tight end, even in the NFL. And when
Yeah.
he made that play, you saw it, and I was just like, that took the steam out of the Ravens. That right there pretty much killed their chances of winning this football game. And even with Lamar going down the field in the fourth quarter and getting this team, it gets with a 6 straight passes down the field, get the touchdown to Isaiah Likely, and they run a 2-point conversion on Mark Andrews. And when they showed, I didn't really like, of course, watching it on TV, the crowd was like right in there, so you couldn't really see where the ball was thrown to. Was it short, whatever? That was right in his chest. It was right here.
Yeah.
Like when they showed the still shot of that catch, it's like this one. It was when they showed the still shots during the season, and then like, yeah, this guy scored a touchdown on this play, or yeah, this guy didn't score a touchdown on this play when it's like wide open, and like, why didn't you score? Like there was literally the still shot, like, yeah, Mark Andrews dropped this pass. Like it was right there in the breadbasket, and he literally falls into the end zone, and he drops it there, and you can see Lamar's face, like, here we go again, and even he said in his press cameras, like, sick of this shit, and all this other stuff, and I mean, even at itself, look, Lamar has it sucks that it feels like Lamar's worst games seem to happen in the playoffs. I don't understand it. But at the same time, they also showed, I'll put some blame on the defense too. At the same, like, they didn't get enough of a pass rush. They have been in the last 5 weeks. Outside of corner blitzes, they weren't getting any kind of pressure with 4. They couldn't force turnovers. I think that's been when you look at that 2000 Ravens team and even the 2012 Ravens defense, the key to them, and I think a lot of defense, honestly, in the playoffs, is forcing turnovers. I think if the Ravens get one turnover, one takeaway in this game is completely different. If you steal a possession away from the Bills and give that back to the Ravens, I think this game's completely different. They didn't get a takeaway. And as much as I've said about this team for years, it just, again, feels like this team, the talent is there, right? I feel like the talent is there for this team. Problem is, I just think this team is just mentally soft. They're just soft. When the time comes, they think too much. Andrews doing stuff that's uncharacteristic of what Mark Andrews does. Lamar, fumbling the ball when he hasn't fumbled all season. We seen Lamar even fumble on plays in that Bengals game where he picks the ball up and then throws a touchdown, falling back out of bounds. Like, Lamar's even made those plays look remarkable, but it's just things the Ravens don't do. They haven't done all season. Didn't commit penalties. That wasn't even an issue, I think, in this game for the most part, outside of that horrendous pass interference call that they called on Tre'Davious White. But it just, as they say, sometimes those things that you don't do well during the season get magnified in the playoffs, and they show up again. And I just didn't get it when I looked at that state of the Ravens. And I don't know how once I'm done, you can tell me how you held the game in the state of the Ravens. But it just kind of felt like DaCosta and Harbaugh were just going through the motions again. Oh yeah, we had a good season. It sucks we're not in the Super Bowl, but guys, we work hard, we fight hard. We're just gonna keep at it next year. Like, and then for a lot of Ravens fans, I saw them on the social media were like, I thought this was our year from last year. I thought this year was the revenge year. This is the year we get back, right? This is the year, But I think the way this year finished, even more, just how 2023 season stands out to me. That was the year to do it. That was the year because the Chiefs, even entering the playoffs, didn't look like they did against the Broncos in that
Yeah.
game. Like they still struggled through the playoffs. That was the 2023 was the year for this team. And now you look at the way the Chiefs have played in that game, and of course the referees are, you know, in in postseason form already for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, you know, Kelsey gets he gets like 90 yards in the game or something, scores a touchdown, you know, sets another record and everything. Like he just all of a sudden just turns it on. And I think that's the difference for when you look at the Chiefs. What's the difference between the Chiefs and why they always seem to find themselves in the Super Bowl and why the Ravens can't find themselves in the Super Bowl are those moments. Is that Kelsey, Mahomes, the guys that you need to turn it to another level. Like it felt like all season the Chiefs have been cruising, right? They've been doing just enough to get to the playoffs. And then when they get to wild card weekend or whatever, get to divisional playoffs, they just a switch turns on. They just turn a switch on. They get into their routine and everything, and they just roll. You just look at them. It's looking like the Patriots did. The Patriots did the same thing for years. Felt like they were just cruising a lot of times through the regular season, and then the postseason hit, and then they look like a totally different team. Like, wow, this wasn't the team we saw, you know, week 15, week 14. It looked completely different. And the problem with the Ravens is they they do the exact opposite, right? They play great in the regular
Yep.
season, and then for some odd reason in the playoffs they just stink it up. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. And what was really bad about it, got I think all of our hopes up, was we saw that wild card game with how they played against Pittsburgh and dominated them. We thought, all right, the Ravens have finally figured it out. They're going to keep their foot on the gas the entire time during the playoffs. And it did feel like even at times during that Bills game where that one drive, I think in the third quarter where the Ravens had the ball and Henry only had one carry. Did not understand that at all. Did not understand. Didn't have one carry. When they talk about the 2-point conversion, they were like, I don't understand. Or I think Russell Street Report reported it. Why the Ravens keep throwing passes on 2-down conversions, 2-point conversions. Their rate of getting the play done is like 16%. It's like almost one of the lowest in the league. However, when they've done run plays on 2-point conversions, they tend to get those. There's a higher chance of success. But they keep doing these little pass plays and stuff. They don't work. Guys drop the ball. Lamar throws it here, whatever. They don't. Again, Derrick Henry not on the field. So I'm like, you have your best opportunities. We saw it last year against the Steelers. They took Derrick Henry off the field. Like I don't know. I don't know what it is. And the bad part about I think this time is the Ravens are good. I just don't know where they go from here. Like, what do you do to get better? Like, they had the number one offense. They put up 7,000 yards. Every year, this offense continues to set records, but they just can't get over the hump.
um, Look, there's been a wave of emotions all week, and I think I think that's the rough part about this game. You know, we went into that game on a high,
Mm-hmm.
hottest team in the league, number one offense, MV3. You just had so much riding on this game, so much. And I think for it to end the way it did, it puts you in a dark place as a fan. I don't want to like over dramatize it, but like
Yeah.
as a fan, a dark place where you don't want to watch sports that weekend anymore, or you don't want to watch sports the rest of the week. You don't want to watch the media pundits. You don't want to see the press conferences, state of the Ravens, nothing. That's how impactful this game was. Um, but there's so much blame to go around in this game. I echo some of the same sentiments. I think the defense played well for the most part, but you're right. The pass rush was not there. And, I give credit for the Bills for getting the ball out quick because they did. They did. I'm not going to lie. But there was opportunities where Josh Allen was chilling. That man was
Mm-hmm.
chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just were not aggressive in that area. We didn't get the plays from Oway and Vanoy when we needed to. It was just rough. We got no push up the middle. And I question, some of the play calling on some of those short runs. Like, why is Michael Pierce not in the game on a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or 3rd and 2, 4th and 2? When we know, and I called it out. I was literally sitting with my wife and like, oh, 3rd and 2, they're going to run with Josh Allen. 4th and 2, they're going to run with
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen. And you know what I don't see on the field? Michael Pierce.
Years. Mhm.
I mean, the man can clog up the space between two buildings. So I wholeheartedly think he can clog up all that space to allow our backers to penetrate those holes, pause, and make a play. Sorry, y'all. I did that was not on purpose. I'm just being honest.
That's the first one.
Like
That's the first one.
first one. But it's just baffling. It's like
Mhm.
you have this guy whose specialty is to clog up the areas, and you don't use him in the biggest game of the season. Because every game going forward was supposed to be the biggest game of the season.
Mhm.
And the other thing, missed tackles. Missed tackles. So many missed tackles on James Cook. So many missed tackles on Josh Allen. So many missed tackles on Ty Johnson. The game honestly could have been completely different if we didn't miss tackles. Most of their first downs were off missed tackles.
Mhm.
Like on
Mhm.
running plays, it was just straight up missed tackles. I, I could probably have nightmares off of seeing Ty Johnson or James Cook catch the ball in the flat and we miss a tackle and they get a first down. I think Josh Allen's touchdown run was off a missed tackle.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, I don't want to try to like put a silver lining and say we beat ourselves, but the characteristics of this game lends to the fact that we beat ourselves. Just like last year. Same story. Um, Offensively, it was rough. I think you talked about the blitz. I think they blitz. What they blitz? What was it 55% of the time?
Mhm. Yep.
And no screens, no nothing.
They weren't
Now,
prepared for it
if
at
we
all.
didn't see the wide receiver screens because we had no Zay Likely, I get it.
Yeah.
But you got Justice Hill. You got Keaton Mitchell, who was looking like he was primed to make a play by the
Yeah.
way he was returning kicks.
And I
So
don't think I saw him once on the offensive side of the bike, not once being used back there. Like,
yeah, didn't see a jailbreak screen.
nope.
No jailbreak screen to the tight end. I mean, you have Likely there for a reason, and that play is in our playbook because we've seen it last year and earlier this year.
Mhm.
So why not slow down that pass rush? Um, you know, Lamar didn't have a bad game. He had 2 turnovers. Lamar had already lost 5 fumbles this season,
Yeah.
so it's not too far fetched to say there's a possibility he could fumble the ball.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's the risk that comes with his game.
Cold weather
You know,
too. That
he's a
cold
point.
weather game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we saw from the game before, like the Philly game, that ball was going to be loose as a goose.
Yeah.
Like, so I figured something was bound to happen. I was
Mhm.
just hoping it wasn't to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like you said, interception. There's a lot of factors with that. So it wasn't like Lamar played a bad game. It wasn't his most crisp passing game, but we can talk about the weather when it comes to that. I mean, we can talk about the lack of use of Derrick Henry in the second quarter, and then but they corrected that in the third. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of things happening where we weren't at our best in certain areas, but we're doing enough to be able to win the game. And I think that's what you ask for in these tough games is to be in position to win the game. Now, Mark Andrews, that fumble in the fourth quarter,
Yeah. That
that
would have
was
killed.
heart wrenching. I thought that was the game right there.
Yeah. Because we were going to
I
take the
thought
lead.
that was the game.
We were going to
Yeah,
take the lead.
I thought that was the game. By the grace of Edgar Allan Poe, we were able to get ourselves back in a position, and Lamar put together one of his best late game drives I've seen as a Raven. And I want to shout out Tylan Wallace because when Tylan Wallace came in the game when Bateman went down, I had this faith that Tylan Wallace was going to make a play because when he plays, he makes a play. And that play where Lamar threw it to him, I think he got about 20 yards. Um, that started getting that momentum going, and we took it down the field. Lamar, we pass block for him. He throws that amazing pass to Isaiah Likely,
Yep.
and we're right there. But after that, you know, one could argue that we shouldn't have gone for that 2-point conversion early. I
A
know
lot of
that's
people
the
said
trend for NFL coaches.
kick the extra point. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we
kick the
only been
field
down
goal.
by 7. Tie game.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And but the trend for NFL coaches in this modern era is to go for the 2-point conversion early. We could have went for the extra point and then we'd be tying the
Yeah.
game, no 2-point conversion. But that wasn't the case. We were presented with the opportunity to go for a 2-point conversion. Like you said, Miles, for the life of me, why don't we have a running play? You know what would have been right there as aggressive as Buffalo was? A naked bootleg. And we have that in our bag. We've ran it. Lamar has ran that to close out games for touchdowns. It was there.
We run it with
We
Flacco
had
before.
everything in
I've seen the
place.
Ravens run it with Flacco before for a
Exactly.
2-point conversion.
So it's in our bag.
Yeah.
But you know, Monken wanted to throw the ball, and I can't knock him because the play was there.
Yeah.
You know, we faked the design run that we didn't run all game, and we had a wide open Andrews,
No, he
and
was.
the ball was in his
If he
hands.
catches it, that's a genius play. It's a genius play.
Yeah, and
Catch it.
and to be honest, people can say the ball was low, but Lamar put it where he only wanted Andrews to get it, and it was literally in his breadbasket, falling
Right
back,
here.
like you
It wasn't
said.
like
Like
at his feet or at like his like groin or anything. Like it was right here. Like
it was, yeah, right in the stomach. Like it's just rough. It's rough to just see all this happen and know that once again the game is in your hands. I told my wife we ended the season the way we started it. We ended it the way we started, and that's on a 2-point conversion not being
Isaiah
converted.
Likely. Yeah. Yeah.
By us getting
A
down
bastard.
early and having to get our way back.
Saint you
Lamar
wow,
having to
yeah.
put together a late game
Same thing
drive.
about that. Yeah.
We score a
That
touchdown
first
and we
that
don't
first
convert on a
game.
2-point conversion.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same way. And I think that's what makes it worse.
Eerie, right? It's
Is
just
that's the same damn thing. And Corey, yes, defensive playmakers. And I think that's the other part. Like Miles talked about to no turnovers. But when you look at it, like being able to make a play, even if it's not a turnover, a key sack, a key breakup, something that stops the drive. Like we've seen our Darius make some plays throughout the season,
mhm.
but when
Mhm.
it comes to the postseason, being able to make that play, to just say no, it stops here, that statement play, we don't have somebody that can make it. We do. We have Kyle Hamilton, but he's playing
Yeah.
high safety. The ball ain't coming his way. But besides that, who do we have?
Yeah.
There's no one that makes that
Yeah.
play that says it stops right here.
Yeah.
So it's rough. I watched some of the State of the Ravens. I didn't really care for the answers. The only thing I was glad to hear is that they're going to try to get a safety so they can put Kyle Hamilton back in the box. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What I took from it was a lack of urgency overall, a lack of I don't know. It just feels like they were just numb to what just happened, like, or they were just tuned out to the loss that just happened. They didn't really speak to, how tough it has to be to get back here. They didn't speak to what they could have done differently, like they did the year before. It
Mhm.
just felt like they were just there and they were just numb to it all. Granted, I didn't hear the whole thing, but just based upon what I listened to in the State of the Ravens, yeah, it wasn't anything encouraging.
No, I mean, and again, it's another year Steve Bisciotti's not there. I think we haven't seen him since 2019, 2020. It's been a while since we've seen Steve Bisciotti at these pressers. And I know fans have commented for years, I'm not making the right moves in the draft or free agency and going to get guys. And we've seen they're making improvements to the stadium and adding all these new features and everything else, and that's fine and everything, but the expectation for this team is Super Bowl. it's when you got an MVP who could then potentially be winning his third MVP in the next couple weeks, he could be getting his third MVP. At this, honestly, I hope Lamar doesn't get it now. I hope they just give it to Josh Allen for real, because I feel like the way Lamar is right now, I think in his mindset, I think if he were to win, I don't think he'd show up to collect it. I think somebody else would collect it in his honor and be like, I don't want to be here for this, because at this point it rings. Like I said, I've got all the individual accolades. I mean, I'm 2-time MVP. Like, I'm probably going to win another one of these at some point before my career is over. So I'll be up there with Aaron Rodgers and a few of those other guys. But they got rings. They got a ring. I'm trying to get that. And like you said about, I'll go back to the Kyle Hamilton thing. If Kyle is playing in that zone, that area of the field, if our free safety situation is locked up and he's able to play, this game is completely different. Because then Josh Allen and James Cook and Ty Johnson can't do what they did to the Ravens in that game. Kyle Hamilton would have locked up. He would have basically taken away an entire side of the field. Wherever Hamilton would be, they're taking away that side of the field and then forcing them to do other things. So, I mean, when you look at it, when you look at guys that have made plays on this defense consistently, right? It's been Kyle. Roquan has taken a step back. I'm not sure what happened to him this year. He's kind of taking a step back. He was getting interceptions and stuff like last season. He was getting picks. He didn't really do anything. Marlon, he's been consistent all year, but he didn't really get a chance. I think he got banged up a little bit during the game as well. But, what you said, making those kind of plays that stops right here, I go right back to that Bernard Pollard play to when he hit, Ridley for the Patriots. Ridley's running right down the field, and he basically headbutts him. He like cleans his clock, and he basically the ball falls out of his hands, and that changed the game completely for the Ravens on that Super Bowl run. That Bernard Pollard hit changed that game completely, and that's what even when them turn the football over, if the Ravens get one of those kind of plays, then it changes. And it just felt like, too, because they couldn't get takeaways and stuff, and the Bills fans were into it and everything else, it kind of did feel like it felt like even seeing Lamar on the sideline and stuff, it felt like, here we go again. Like they already had it in their heads. Yeah. Here we go again. Here we go again. I think another thing, too, is when we look at the coaching staff for the Ravens, outside of John Harbaugh, who's won a Super Bowl, but that was more Ray and Ed and all them than him. He was along for the ride. There's not a lot of guys on this coaching group and staff that have a lot of championship or playoff experience that make deep playoff runs. Like you look at that defensive side, especially with all the guys that they lost. Anthony Weaver, they lost Charles Austin, years ago, but several guys that they've lost in the last couple of years. They replaced a lot of those guys with a lot of young assistant coach talent from like college and stuff. A lot of these guys don't know about NFL playoffs and stuff, that what to do. And same thing on the offensive side of the ball. And I like T. Martin and everything, and but he doesn't have a lot of experience with winning these kind of games. And I would think if you looking into the offseason for the Ravens, I would start trying to add. I think what they did with Dean Pease was genius, bringing him on as a consultant. That completely changed how that defense operated. It was very clear that he had an impact on how to rotate, how to, who needs to go here, who needs to go where. I just think that maybe it will behoove the Ravens to maybe bring in somebody that has that kind of championship caliber. It could be retired or whatever that may be, but somebody that's been there before, that knows what you need to do to win this football game, right? Because playing the game in the playoffs is very different than playing the regular season. Like, if anybody watches like playoff baseball, playoff football, it feels like every single play is the play, right? Every single play is magnified. Like, I know when I watch baseball and people complain about how long it is, watch a playoff baseball game. Every pitch is like the play, right? This could be it. This could be the play. And it feels like for football, it's the same thing, where every play matters. You look back at the Ravens, man, if we just had Derrick Henry on this drive, maybe Corey talked about it on that. I think the goal line where they only got 3 points. They only got a field goal. And they were on literally within the 5-yard line, and they didn't score a touchdown. If that play is different, the Ravens probably win this football game. Like, Ray Lewis, I think, even talked about it. I think after they lost the 2011 the championship game, and everybody focused on the Lee Evans drop. He's like, I can tell you about 5-6 other plays that happened in the game where if this was different, this game we win this game. Like, you can go back and look from the first quarter to the fourth where this thing didn't happen or these things changed. This game changes completely. Is different. This game hand is different, but it just feels like the Ravens. I have yet the bad part about the Ravens is that they're never out of these playoff games. They're not getting beat. Like, they're not getting dog walked by anybody. Like, they're in these games. They're in all these games. But they just at that moment where it needs to happen, right? That moment where, like you said, you need somebody to make a play. Go make a play. Like, I was watching some of those Ed Reed and Ray Lewis videos when they were on the sideline, like, all right, one of us got to make a play. They would talk to each other. One of us got to make a play. Like right now, one of us got to make that play. And, you got that guy in Lamar, I think, on that side of the ball with the offense. You got Derrick Henry too. I love the Instagram post. He said, run it back. I love the enthusiasm he has. Let's go try this again. Not having Zay there hurt on offense. I think that the Ravens continuing to bargain basement shop for wide receivers continues to hurt this team, and not giving Marvin Sims and Anthony Miller and whoever else, like, this not impacting this team, like not putting more importance on getting a solid punt returner for this team. When you look at the Ravens in 2000 with Jermaine Lewis and in 2012 with Jacoby Jones, they were X factors. They were the difference for these Ravens teams. They were the difference. When you have a special teams unit that can change the field, you can field a punt at the 25-yard line and they take it to the 50 or take it to the opponent's 40-yard line. That completely changes the game. But literally, you got a guy back there. They've rotated through guys all year. Guys can't field a punt. Guys are afraid to field a punt. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I need the Ravens to put more emphasis on the areas that matter. You look at the Steelers. That was their best unit this year, was the special teams. That kept them in a lot of football games. The special teams unit. I need the Ravens to put more emphasis. And somebody said this on social media, which I thought was very important. I need the Ravens to put more emphasis on the positions that matter. They don't put a premium on edge rushers. They're fine going out getting project players in the draft or signing, edge rushers that are way past their prime and hoping they have a good year here. They don't put a premium on that, but they'll put a premium on Patrick Ricard. I love Project Pat, but he's a fullback. He's a fullback. You could take some of that money and invest it into maybe another wide receiver, an actual legit number 3. Because Marvin Sims and Nelson Aguilar and them, they ain't it. So when Zay went down, and look, I'll shout out to Bateman. Bateman had a great year this year, but they still needed one more guy. They still needed somebody else. Putting an emphasis on, they said edge rusher, wide receiver, emphasis on O-line. Like, you drafted Tyler Lindenbaum, but everybody else, Rosengarten, you found in the 3rd round. Voorhees and them you found later rounds too. Like, I need the Ravens to start putting emphasis on the positions that's going to win them championships. Right? Because as good as that line had played all year, and shout out to all the line coaches, and obviously having to take over for Coach Joe D, who passed away. Shout out to them for doing a really good job during the season. But we saw in that Bills game, they got outplayed. Like, Lamar was like there was plenty of times when Lamar was just like, out of sorts. He's trying to run around, trying to make if Lamar's not Lamar, I don't know if the Ravens even are even in this game if Lamar's not Lamar.
Yeah.
And making the plays that he makes. And I think Cam even said, he's like, look, guys like Lamar Jackson, even with the fumble and stuff, with so many remarkable plays that he makes, there's going to be some plays you wish he just threw it away. You wish that he just turfed it, just go down for the sack, man. But with Lamar, and it's like his talent is a gift and a curse for him. He in the way, because of how he plays, he believes he can make anything. He can make anything out of nothing. He's done it so many times, right, that he can make anything out of nothing. But and also we talked about this year, I think why weren't they never able to have Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews be threats together on the field at the same time?
Yeah.
We that was the one thing we thought that would be like If they can get Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the field at the same time and make them both threats, man, but it never happened. It never happened. So again, we're looking at they're going to have the 27th pick in the draft coming up. Zach Orr is going to be there. I don't think he's definitely not going anywhere. I think he's definitely there for at least another year, maybe another year or two. But like you said, it does appear Monken may be on his way out, maybe getting a job, or there's definitely interest from other teams as well for him. Where do you trust Harbaugh if that were to happen, if Monken leaves? Do you trust Harbaugh to fill that position? I know I don't. The guys, Marty Morningway that he had Cam Cameron, the list goes on and on. Like he doesn't have a good track record with picking offensive coordinators. The Ravens lucked up. I tell people all the time the reason why Chad Monken is even in the Ravens sphere, is because John Harbaugh's John Harbaugh's brother-in-law was the former basketball coach at University of Georgia, while Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator there at Georgia. That's how he was able to. Hey, you should talk. John Harbaugh's sister told him, hey, you should go check out Todd Monken there at Georgia. That's literally how they found out about him. And now if he goes elsewhere, I'm like, I don't think his sisters are married to anybody else that they could potentially, know who else that's in the Harbaugh family tree. Like, I just don't. I don't know if Ozzie and them, because Ozzie's still involved with this. If Ozzie and Steve and Derek DeCasa, if you're really serious about going forward and getting a championship next year, if Monken is gone, allowing Harbaugh to make that decision.
I think I don't trust Harbaugh to make it. I think this is going to have to require some intervention from his coaching staff. I mean, if we're talking about like the ideal thing is to promote within and keep continuity. But T. Martin's never been a play caller.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go the Zach Orr route, bring in somebody that can mentor him as he let him grow into the role. Because T. Martin, he's a hell of a coach. Everybody says that. Like, he's a great coach. He's going to be a head coach one day. Well, you're going to have to go through, for the most part, being a coordinator in order to go that route. So this may be his chance to be that guy. But if we go that route, we would need somebody to backfill and somebody to kind of help guide him, because it would be his first time calling plays. But obviously, we don't know, like in the preseason, if he ever gets, a half to call a play or, take on some of the duties. But that's the ideal thing. That's always the ideal, to promote from within. But if we don't go that route, I mean, there's only like one name I'm like super comfortable with that I think could continue to grow Lamar and can keep a very similar system in place and help expand on it. And that's Clint Kubiak. That's it. Like, he's in New Orleans trying to make it happen with what's his name? Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
And he's in a tough situation there. But the guy's a good play caller. And I think he's somebody that can come in and do a good job. But like, the thing I'm scared about is if we go poach an Alabama offensive coordinator, a Michigan coordinator, the Michigan head coach, or something, or just go get Greg Roman just because the Harbaughs like to pass coaches back and forth like they're two twins with a girlfriend. Like, like that's what I'm scared of.
Yeah.
Or bring somebody in like Greg Roman that's going to shift us to running the ball without any creativity and make us one-dimensional and just take us 5 steps back from where we are now. That's what I worry about. But yeah, I want somebody similar to Monken. I'm just going to be honest. Somebody that's going to put the ball in the playmaker's hands, get guys out in space. Like, my hope is T. Martin having 2 full years under him and learning and these guys talk.
Yeah.
So Munkin probably knew week 5 when he had a top offense and later in the season when he had the top offense, he was like, "All right, I'm probably out of here after this year. T, pull up.
Yeah. Just
Let's try to
walk
walk you
through
through some things because
walk through
this
some
job
stuff.
should be
Yeah.
yours." So I don't know. That's the ideal thing, and I'm hoping that's the way we go. Is kind of keep it in house.
Yeah, I think that, I don't really know of any, up and coming. Most of the good up and coming OCs are headed for head coaching jobs, right? So it's like, is there
Mhm.
really anybody else, that you can bring in here? Like you said, Kubiak makes sense because of, when we had his dad here in 2014,
Yeah,
we had a top 5 offense. We had
yeah,
Gary here, and he runs the same kind of offense, with his, but a little bit more, progressive. And like you said, when we saw this year, we saw a lot more screenplays. We saw a lot more creativity, from this offense we haven't seen before. And it'd just be a shame, to go back just prehistoric times. And somebody made a good point too. Why does it feel like the Ravens keep zigging while everybody else keeps zagging? And it's like, why the Ravens feel like their way is going to win them something when it hasn't at this point? Way Harbaugh and them do things. They keep like, we're gonna do. I think we're the one of the only 3 teams that have a fullback. I can't remember who the third team is, but I know it's us in San Francisco. They have like a prominent fullback, position. And the way we like to play with 3 or 4 safeties on the field. We don't spend money on pass rushers and stuff. And when it comes to wide receivers, they don't really why wide receivers don't like coming here. That kind of thing. Blah blah blah. And it just, when you look at the moves that Kansas City makes, right? They went out and they
mhm,
got Hollywood Brown in the offseason. They got Xavier Worthy in the draft. They traded up to get Xavier Worthy. They traded up to get Xavier Worthy in the draft. They signed DeAndre Hopkins. They get him. The Chiefs, and I'll say the Eagles, at least for the last 2 years, are not afraid of making the moves necessary to put them in prime position to win a Super Bowl. While the Ravens always seem to, I like our guys. That's what Harbaugh always say. I like our guys. I like our guys. When
yeah,
there are players
always.
available, when we talked about Zadarius Smith being available for a 5th round pick, we could have had him. We could have had Zadarius Smith for a 5th round pick. Ravens weren't entertaining it at all.
Yeah,
There were other receivers and other playmakers available for the Ravens to go ahead and go get. They won. And it just feels like the Ravens just keep doing the bare minimum when that, especially the trade deadline arrives, even in the draft. Outside of going to get Lamar Jackson, that's the last time the Ravens have ever done anything in the draft to like go get somebody. Outside of drafting, like getting back to the first round and get Lamar Jackson. Now that we got Nate Wiggins, he's panned out. Kyle Hamilton has panned out. But when you look at guys like Trenton Simpson, is he even on? Is he another year away, or is he even going to be ready next year? You got guys like Chris Board and them who stepped up in his place. You now like Darius Washington, while he did have a good year this year, you can't lean on that. You shouldn't lean on that.
yeah,
Going into the next season saying he's going to replicate what he did last year based on what you saw at Brandon Stevens. Because I think the Ravens going in this season thought, okay, Brandon's going to either stay at the same or get better. Anything, he regressed. He got worse. And now he could be on his
yeah,
way out. So now you got to find another cornerback on that side. Marlon could be in a situation. He could be a cap casualty. Now you got to find another piece to replace him. You still got to find an edge rusher. Van Noy, I don't know how long he's going to keep doing this. He's having great years here, but you need a guy. You need a game record out there. You need a game record out there. And again, you can't keep relying on practice squad players and guys like stepping up in that mid part of the year. Like, oh yeah, they're playing great football, but then come playoff time, there's a reason why certain guys get paid amount of money. There's a reason.
yeah,
Historically, they have shown that they're going to make that play when they need to make that play. And yeah, it just feels like you said, that state of the Ravens in the last couple. It just feels like the Ravens are just fine. They're content where they are. They're content with where they're at. They're just fine winning the division. and maybe making to the AFC Championship game. That's what it does feel that way. But like I said, when you look at the Eagles and what they do in the offseason, you look at the Chiefs, what they do in the offseason and in the middle of the season, it's like they're always working to try to get better. Right? And it's not like the Chiefs did any weird black magic or anything to get DeAndre Hopkins. Like they could have easily done what the Ravens do. The Ravens like to stockhold all these picks. They got what did DaCosta say? We got 11 picks in this draft. What are you gonna do with 11 picks? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, half these guys are
Half
gonna
of them
start.
they're gonna get cut. We've had
What
what
happened to
draft pick get
Sanosi
cut every
King? Didn't
year.
play. TJ Tampa, did he ever play? How many of these guys that we saw when we did this draft review that we thought could actually do something for the Ravens this year didn't play?
Or hurt.
What happened to Tez Walker? Tez Walker played like 2 games. And they put Tylan Wallace out there more than him. So I'm like, what are you going to do with 11 picks? What are you going to do with them? So I'm like, if you could use some of those picks to have a package to go either trade up and go get somebody, then go do that. But the Ravens, again, I don't know what it is. And it's not like it's baseball. It's like a money thing. Every team has the same amount of money. Every team has the same amount of money. But for some odd reason, you see the Eagles always have money. They always have the means to do so. They do it every year. They always find a way to trade for somebody and to get A.J. Brown. You see them trade back in the draft and get to Kobe Dean and all these other players that are making plays for them right now. You know, we saw them. They went to get Saquon Barkley, but they also made moves. They got Cooper DeJean, who was the highly talented safety in the draft last year. They're not afraid to go make moves when they need to make moves. And we the last couple of years we've seen it, right? How many times have we seen the Ravens literally go get Deontay Johnson, not even to play him, just to get a compensatory pick. That was it. He had no intention of playing that man. Just a comp pick. So, like, what are we doing here? You can't stand pat, even with the Ravens, them being blessed with not having too many injuries, right? They didn't have a lot of crazy injuries this year. But you can't stand. You have to constantly keep looking. If the Chiefs, who are always favored to win the Super Bowl every year, are always looking to make the team better, then you need to be doing the same thing. Like, copy that. That's what makes me mad about this team is that there are always areas for them to get better in. And there are players that would love to play with Lamar. There are players that would love to play with Lamar. But the Ravens just don't want to pull the trigger. But again, I think this goes back to Harbaugh. Harbaugh has too much of a say in who he coaches, and he wants a certain type of player, right? He wants a certain type of player. A guy that's not going to mouth off, a guy that's not going to, challenge the status quo. It's not going to rile things up and stuff like that. Real laid back, real chill guys and stuff. So I think it just, I don't know. It feels like the Ravens are literally taking themselves out of a Super Bowl race every year because they're not willing to bring the right kind of players into the locker room to make this team what it needs to be.
Yeah. Look, we have to do things differently. I mean, I think if someone's there, we have to go get him. We have to go get him. Because we're getting to that place. We have a lot of young players. This is still a young team.
Mm-hmm.
We can't like forget that. This is still a young team. There are not a lot of old players on this team at all. This is a young team. But what comes with a young team is that first contract after you have a good season. And that contract is usually high up there. So we're getting to a place where that window is shrinking. So we gotta do something different. Talk about like our off-season needs. I'm of the belief like you build your defense through the draft
Mm-hmm.
and you go test free agency on your offensive holes. So I look at we need a safety. There's some safeties in this draft. We need a deep safety. There's some in this draft. There's some pass rushers in this draft. There's some corners in this draft. Like we have the picks to go get those guys, but we also have 11 picks So there's some moves that we can make for some of these disgruntled guys on different teams because there are a lot of disgruntled guys across the NFL.
Mhm.
I mean, I could throw one out there right now who could come in and be our number one, number two receiver, Tyreek Hill. Granted, he's probably a horrible human being, but he's a great wide receiver.
Yeah,
And we have somebody that can throw the deep ball to him. Lamar ain't struggling to throw
man.
30 yards like Tua.
Lamar,
All right. And he's
Lamar and Tariq would be unfair. Unfair.
yeah, yeah, and he's not, one concussion away from going to the old folks home like Tua either.
Right.
So I think that's somebody you can make a move for. The price is high, some restructures would have to happen, but there's something that you can do because the salary cap is about to go up again. Um, offensively though, if we just go free agency, man, I think, number one priority is you have to re-sign Stanley. The offensive line was playing too good
Yeah.
that second half of the season to break this up. You just can't. You can't.
So are you solid with
Rosengarten,
Falele there? You solid with Falele at right guard? You solid?
look, man. Look, man. I've been calling him Falele for the
Falafel.
past weeks, and that should tell you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have not called that man falafel
yeah,
for a while. He's been playing good, and I think you can supplement that with if we're able to get a good deal. There's some guards out there that could fill that left guard spot for Makari. But I think number one priority, you got to bring Stanley back. You don't want to lose the continuity on your offensive line when you're so close to being a championship team. You're so close. I mean, you are a championship team.
mhm,
So you can't break up that offensive line because that's the major part of what we do. That allows us to run the ball for 200 yards a game. That allows Lamar to have the time to make the plays he makes. You have to keep the offensive line intact. I mean, offensively, you really want to put your money into a third receiver. You
yeah,
and when I say a third receiver, probably a number two guy. And I say that from the fact that you know Bateman had a good season, Zay had a good season, but two things that are we know to be true about the both of them, they get hurt.
yeah,
They get hurt. So um, I honestly think we have to bring in another guy. I think you have Keenan Allen's going to be out there. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out there if the Chiefs don't re-sign him. Um, you have a good amount of guys. I was just looking at a couple of them.
Chris Godwin,
Stephon Diggs,
Diggs will be out there,
Chris
yeah,
Godwin, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is going to be very available because nobody's going to pay a
yeah,
30-year-old receiver, 30, 31-year-old receiver coming off was it an Achilles this time or was it an ACL? I can't remember.
thought it was
But he's in that Odell Beckham before he came to the Ravens bubble. He's in that. He could have potentially that type of free agency market. So I think that's somebody you can get on a good deal. He's a hometown guy.
ACL, yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think that's somebody you can get at the right price. Um, I think we have to start looking at an heir apparent to Derrick Henry. So that may have to come from the draft. But I think
draft,
overall, offensively, you got to look at bringing your guy Stanley back, getting a third receiver, let Nelson go to the fourth. That way, your third receiver can be there to step up if Zay or Bateman go down. Um, and then defensively, you just got to load up that. You got to load up that defense in the draft. You got to get your safety. We need an edge rusher. We need a
mhm,
corner. Um, I don't think the market for Brandon Stevens is going to be great. So I think
no,
he's somebody you can bring back on a lower
good
deal.
good depth piece, yeah,
Marlon,
yeah,
yeah. Marlon, we can't let him go. You can't let an all pro go.
but the way he played, yeah,
He
he
needs
played
he
phenomenal,
needs to
yeah,
come back. I'm pretty sure he'll be open to a restructure. We'll more than likely get the Marcus Williams deal out of our salary cap hell. Um, so I think we'll have some flexibility to do some things. I think Lamar will be down for a restructure to free up some room. Mark Andrews, he's in a place where he's probably going to have to take a pay cut after that drop. But there's a restructure that's going to be have to be done for him because he counts 16 million against the cap.
yeah, next
So
year,
I think
yeah,
we either have to do a restructure, add some void years to stretch his money out,
or trade
or
or
we're gonna
trade him,
Yeah, I mean that's what we don't want to do ideally, but I think we want to either restructure or have them take a pay cut because we have to open up space to fill some of these needs. And I
Yeah.
think the top three needs are cornerback and pass rushing.
And Corey said
So
dynamic returner too. Like, yeah, like they need to go get somebody that can return punts.
let Key Mitchell get a full year back there.
Yeah, I agree. Like
Let him
have
get
him
a
just
full
field
year
punts,
back there.
have him field punts in mini camp, off season, whatever. Just have him field punts. Just have him do that. No, but so that question did come up right about Andrews, right? So he's got 1 year left on his deal, but Kolar's up I think at the end of next season, and so is Likely. I think Corey said is what the Ravens don't like paying two of anybody at the same position. Do you at this is at this moment, right? Knowing that
Mhm.
Andrews has a year left, you don't want to lose Likely. You don't want to lose him. But you know how Likely plays that he's would likely get a top deal on open market.
Absolutely.
Do you go ahead and just trade Andrews now and and keep Likely long term?
Nah. Extend Andrews, man. Add them void years on there so you can cut him with a lower dead cap after this season if you got to make a decision. Give him another prove it year. Extend them now, add them void years, which essentially um, really allows you to get rid of them after next year, um, and then see what's what because you're lowering your dead cap there, so it's not a big of a hit as if you got rid of them now.
Some people were saying, obviously, I mean, even if you keep Andrews, but you promote Likely the number one. Like, I know Andrews, like you're a guy and everything, but what with how this offense seems to run a lot, be more dynamic with Likely and open in the open field. He just seems to make more plays. Um,
The other part is you're not just getting rid of Lamar's mans like that. That's Lamar's
yeah, that's his
man since they
boy.
came in
Yeah,
together. Like that, you're gonna cause some issues with Lamar, and
yeah,
he's about to come up for a contract soon. He has
yeah,
2 more years.
yeah, yeah.
He has 2 more years. So you don't want to start. Look, you don't want to start rocking the boat with Lamar. You don't. He has 2 years left. He's going to be a free agent. You don't want to. You don't want to get rid of his man's right now
But I'll say
because
this:
that's coming off this. That's going to cause problems.
If you're DaCosta, and the right deal comes up for the right player, a position of need comes up, I feel like you have to entertain it. That's just me. I would entertain it. I know that's Lamar's guy and everything, but too many times now we've seen in the post. Oh, Mark Andrews has 0 touchdowns in the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs like 5 times. He has 0 touchdowns. And you look across the Chiefs, Kelsey over here getting 2,000 career yards in the playoffs and 20 touchdowns, something ridiculous. The stat line and stuff. I'm not saying that he's got to hit that stat line, but the wild stat is the fact that he hasn't had a touchdown in the playoffs is concerning. It's concerning to me. Likely does have a touchdown now. Likely does have a touchdown. I really, when you look at, I mean, towards the end of the season, we saw it was a combination of both. Likely and Andrews were getting the ball in the red zone. I don't know. I just feel like I trust Likely more going forward. I just do. And you could bring Kolar on. He said he's got 1 year left, but you can bring Kolar on for real cheap. You can bring Kolar on real cheap as a number 2. I'll say this. I'm not going to trade him for pennies. Obviously, the right package has to be there for Mark Andrews. If not, you keep
Yeah.
him for, like you said, you keep him for the extra year, do the void year thing, and if he doesn't seem to, if he's not improving, and that's the bad part about it is the bad part about the Andrews thing is what he can do in the regular season. It's just will he do it in the postseason? That's the
Yeah.
only issue. You're not. It's not like you're gonna wait to find out in the regular season. You literally gotta wait to find out in the postseason with Mark Andrews. But on the other side of that, they paid Lamar. Lamar's playoff record isn't the greatest, but they paid Lamar Jackson. Not everybody's gonna have a Travis Kelsey. Everybody's gonna have that kind of tight end. It's not, I don't envy the Ravens for being in this position because it's not an easy decision to make. It's not easy. And with everything happening with Mark Andrews right now, again, it does feel like the right trade has to be there. But if teams are calling, I would say, hey, if they're calling about him, I'm just saying we'll hear you out. I'm not saying it's a definite, but we'll hear you out. If there's a way for them to get better, and you got it'd be one thing if Likely wasn't. If Likely was just a meh player, I can understand keeping Andrews. But we've seen Likely ball out.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me. We've seen Likely ball out, and I just think for the Ravens, sometimes you got to make those tough decisions. You got to move on from a guy that is a fan favorite, everybody likes and everything. But at the end of the day, it's like you got to look at the end all be all, and it's like, but the guy that we're trading for can help us. He can help us get where we need to go. Kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's a business at the end of the day. So I say move on from him. You say keep him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I'm over here messing on Sport Track. So our best options to save the most cap money now with Mark Andrews
Mm-hmm.
is either post June 1st release him, trade him, or extend him with 3 void years.
Yeah.
That'll reduce his cap hit. All the void years will reduce his cap hit, and we keep him, and that would save us 7 million. Trading him would save us 11 million. Post June 1 release would save us 7 million as well. So there's a lot there's a lot to save there. So we'll see.
All right. So with all that being said, even with the player movements and draft possibilities and things like that, and we expect Lamar to be ready to go next season. Derrick Henry's already said he's ready to go next season. Zay and Bateman, look like poised for another good year next year as well. Again, the talent is there, right? But the talent is there for the Ravens. What do you think has to change mentally for this team? Because it's not a talent thing. What do you think has to change mentally for this team to get over the hump? Because guess the Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. I don't expect the Bengals
Yeah.
to be this down bad like they were this year. Like the Bengals are going to be back, right? The Chiefs are always going to, as long as Pat Mahomes is there, the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. So that they're not going anywhere. Like what does it take? What is it going to take this for next season for this team? Do you think to get to the promised land, get there?
Uh, I think you said it. We just got to get mentally tough. We have to. Got to get mentally tough. All that we do, all that we run into in the playoffs comes down to mental toughness and just not making mistakes. That's really what it comes down to. I think we've seen that time again. That's just what we just gotta get better at. Like being able to like withstand pressure. Um, as Lamar calls it for himself, just being antsy
Mm-hmm.
or being anxious. And then being able to like make big plays, like being confident and making big plays is what's going to come down to for us. And that just comes down to being tough. Like we're battle tested. And I think about the 2012 Ravens. They had some years where they should have made it. A lot of
Yeah,
years they should have
yeah.
made
Those
it,
Bible bowler
and they
years,
went.
right?
Yeah, they went through those lulls. They went through
Yeah,
those lulls. So, but you get battle tested in those moments, and I think
yeah,
those moments is where you start to define yourself as a football player. Like, who are you? Um, and this team went through so much this year that battle testing. I'm talking about the drama with Deontay, with Eddie
mhm,
Jackson, with Marcus Williams. Those three players by themselves, that was drama. All right, and then we had injuries this season. We had to figure things out and pivot early after those first couple weeks. Because it was, I mean, we had what were we, 0-2, 0-3,
0 and 2,
0-2 to
0 and
start the
2.
season.
Yeah,
0-2 to start the season, and then we got hot. We became a favorite to win it, one of the favorites to win it all. So, yeah, we're battle tested. We just got to get tougher mentally. I think Lamar is a great leader. He's a great leader, but I think in playoff time, he has to be a calming force.
yeah, yeah,
Outside of being a playmaker, being an encourager, he needs to be the calming force for this team when we get to the playoffs. And that calming force is letting them know, hey, we got this, but also to yourself, letting yourself know it's okay. You don't have to do it all. Stick to what you know. Because I think what we saw, like in the snow, you know, wisdom would tell you, hey, it's snowing, it's slippery, it's frozen, the ball
Yeah,
is slick. Don't play around with the ball. All right. And I think that's some of the growth that he has to still do is just be that calming force, not only to the team, but to himself. And just to be smart
yeah.
with the ball, be smart with the plays. Don't get in the hero ball in the playoffs. I think that's the growth he has to do. But as a team, we just like you said, we just can't be we gotta be tough. We just gotta be tough.
And I think I go back and look at, you look at back a lot of those Patriots playoff runs, and even going into the AFC Championship games and the Super Bowls, like Tom Brady's stat line wasn't anything like, oh, this is 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He would have a lot of pedestrian type games, but he
Yeah,
didn't turn the ball over. They ran the ball well and they played defense. He made the plays when he needed to make them. And I think it does feel like sometimes in the playoffs, Lamar feels like I got to make every play. I got to make
yeah,
every play. And you don't have to. You got Derrick Henry there. You got, if they utilize Keaton Mitchell, you got Likely there. It's okay to dump it off for 5 yards. It's okay. You don't have to get a first down. You only get 13 yards every time you get the ball. Like every time you gotta get the first down every play. Get 5 yards. Get 6 yards. This get down and matriculate down the field. We don't have to do it all in one play. And I feel like that happens sometimes with the Ravens and Lamar, that he feels like he's still, even like in his head, that he still has to make every play. I got to make this a
yeah,
great play every single time. When the dump off is perfectly fine. Get the 4 yard, 5 yard dump off. Let your guys go make plays. And that's the other thing too. When you watch guys like Kelsey and you watch guys like, um, you know, um, Terry McLaurin with the Commanders and stuff, they make plays for their quarterback. They make plays like that pass that Terry McLaurin threw to that Jaden Daniels threw to Terry McLaurin, where it was literally a breadbasket. It was
yep,
threw it right there. But Terry, the guy, the cornerback's hand is over his face mask, can't even see catch that ball. Making that play. And I think time and time again, the reason why Lamar feels like he has to do that, because he's seen these guys not make the play when they need to make the play. Too many times Lamar has seen the guys not make that play, so Lamar feels like I got to go make that play. You
yeah,
know, I think like you said, when the ball is snapped high above your head like that for Lamar, he has to have the mindset, just go down, get the ball covered,
yeah.
just go down. Don't try to run around. Like I said, it's snowing outside, the ball's slick, the ground is slick. Just go down. Live to fight another down. Right? We were close to field goal range. It wasn't third down or anything. Like, we can live to die. We can live to make another play. And I think that's where he has to grow to that. Like you said, has to grow to that point, right? Where he has to think about that part of the game. And it's like
Yeah.
when things go awry like that, just play it safe. Throw it out of bounds. Throw it out of bounds. Live to play another play. Don't make that mistake. Right. So yeah, it's just tough, you know. Here we are, this coming Sunday, the Bills are going to play at the Chiefs. Here we go again. And the wild part about all of this is if the Bills go and lose to Kansas City this Sunday, Josh Allen is in the same boat Lamar's in. Again, that's the same narrative about both of them get carried over into this next season. Can't get it done against Pat Mahomes, regardless of, oh
Yeah.
yeah, Josh Allen beat Lamar. Okay, Lamar's beating Josh Allen. You know, and Josh Allen can't beat Mahomes in the playoffs if they go in again and lose against Kansas City.
Look, I'll say like this. This is the toughest conference to win in if you're a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, Lamar
all the
has to
great
go through.
quarterbacks are in the AFC.
Yeah, you have to go through CJ. All right, let me not say CJ Stroud. You have to go through Joe Burrow. You got to go through Pat Mahomes. You got to go through Josh Allen, Lamar
Mhm.
Jackson. Um, there's somebody else I'm thinking of. Maybe not. But there's a lot of great quarterbacks you got to go through in order to win a Super Bowl. So I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It hasn't been like this since the Brady, Peyton,
Yeah,
Lord, I'll
Philip
say
Rivers.
Flacco era.
Philip Rivers, yeah, Rivers was in that
Philip
category
Rivers.
too.
Um, Who else was out there? Um,
in the
gosh,
AFC.
I'm missing an AFC. Andrew Luck.
I'll say Andy Dalton.
Before he
Andy Dalton.
retired.
Andy Dalton was
Andy Dalton. Yeah.
he got I don't think he won a
Ben
playoff game, but he got
Roethlisberger.
there. Ben Roethlisberger, yeah. It hasn't been like that for a
Yeah.
while now.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there were some guys. There were some guys out there. Um, so it's tough. Hey, Miles, I was while we were going through that, I was on Sport Track and I figured out how to open up cap space. I'm over here messing around. So we are talking about how to keep guys, right?
Mhm.
So we know the one guy we gotta get rid of, Marcus Williams. We get rid of Marcus Williams with a post June 1st designation. That saves us like 8 million.
Okay.
We do some void years with Andrews. We save about 4 million. The key for us open up cap space is four guys. Okay. Restructure Marlin, add a void year for him. We save 10 million. Restructure Roquan, turn his base salary into a bonus. We save 10 million. Restructure Justin Tucker with a void year. We save 4 million.
Mhm.
Convert Lamar's salary to a bonus next
Mhm.
year. We save $13 million. So when I'm just thinking about like those five moves, that would give us $51 million in cap space. Look, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm not saying I'm not saying that this is even realistic, but it's possible.
Yeah.
There are things that we can do if we sell the guys on, hey, we're going all in this year. But that takes Eric DaCosta, and I think that's what separates us from most teams. We restructure after everything is over.
Before the
After
draft, like
everything is
after the
over,
draft,
so
after we can't do anything.
we restructure in training camp.
Yeah.
Like just to have cap space for during
Right.
the season. But if
And
we
don't
get
then do
ahead of
nothing
it and
with it. They don't,
restructure
and
early,
then not trade for anybody.
yeah, don't do anything with it. So if we do it early, and sell the guys on, hey, this is our all-in year. We're going to make some major moves to make sure we get to the Super Bowl and we win it. It's possible to get this done. It's possible because you can designate Marcus Williams now um, when you release them for a post June 1 release and get that cap space immediately. Um, so there's ways to do this, but the thing with EDC is he never does it proactively.
Yeah.
He does it precaution as a method of precaution once the season has arrived. So if that changes, we can make some runs at some of these guys we're talking about, like Corey's talking about making a run at T.
T.
Higgins,
Higgins,
who I
man.
think would be that guy that fits the mold that I'm talking
He'd
about.
be
So
tall, big receiver. They can get downfield. Lamar just throw jump balls to him
yeah,
all day. Man.
if you make the moves necessary, you can get that man his 20 million over 3 years, 20 million a year over three
Yeah.
years.
You get Zay, and
You
then
know,
you
you can
like
make
you
a run at
literally
Khalil Mack.
you definitely like say if you get a guy like T. Higgins, now you got three receivers that all do different things. Like Bateman being a possession
Yeah,
receiver. You got Zay that's really good doing like the drag routes and the quick stuff or whatever. And then you get T. Higgins who's over the top. You get your over the top receiver who can be on one-on-ones. And with the size and speed that he has, will win most matchups. So
yeah, absolutely.
and like you said, Khalil, do you go get a Khalil Mack right now?
At the right price, at the right price. Look, I told you my philosophy. You build your defense in the draft, but at the right price, Khalil Mack, you bring him in. I mean, I don't think Ajabo is going to be in our future plans.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you bring Khalil Mack in,
It helps
let
Owe
him
out.
be
I'll say
that
that.
veteran.
Yeah, it helps
Yeah,
Owe out.
I mean, I would love to have Khalil Mack, Owe, and Vinoy, and then
Yeah.
you draft a guy that can be mentored under Khalil Mack. Because the thing is, Khalil Mack can bring that veteran presence, and you can get him at the right price. Max Crosby, Miles Garrett, those guys are very unlikely. So that's why I said Khalil Mack
I would love to have Max
because I
Crosby,
think
but
yeah,
I feel like Max Crosby doesn't fit Harbaugh's mold. I feel like him and Harbaugh would butt heads.
yeah, he'd run Khalil Mack. And that's what I'm saying, Corey. Khalil Mack is he's like a 1 to 2 year guy,
Yeah.
um, because like he's talking about retiring. But I think
Mm-hmm.
when you think about going all in over these next 2 years, I think he fits the mold. And
Yeah.
that's why you draft a young guy under him. He can mentor them, and he can give you some good play for 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. And working with, the Chuck Smith that they have there who's been working with the pass rushers.
Yeah,
Yeah, just developing, and like it would be nice having Van Noy there just as a depth piece. He's a rotational piece. him coming
Yeah,
in and be fresh, ready to go. So, yeah, you give him a lot of hope for next year. You give him a lot of hope
yeah,
if they make the moves right, if they do be proactive with these decisions. That's the key. That's the key to all this, being
yeah.
proactive. If they
Look,
sit there and
I'm
wait till
trying to give the
after
people hope.
April to get anything done, they're going to be stuck again.
Yeah, yeah,
But right now, it's like while Lamar's in his prime and everything, and I think as long as Lamar is doing what he's doing, I feel like every year you gotta go all in like this. Right? You have to. You gotta
yeah,
try.
yeah.
You
I mean,
can't
when you
just
look at the
hope
guys that's
You just
out
hope Mar
there,
carries the team to the end, right? You just can't hope. You gotta give him some people around him to get it done.
yeah. And when we talk about like people that if we're talking about like really enhancing our strengths on offense, hey, the Chiefs can't re-sign Trey Smith unless they do some major moves.
Yeah, yeah.
And Trey Smith is one of the best guards in the league. Can you imagine a
Mhm.
line that had Trey Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Linderbaum, Falele,
And Rosengarten, yeah.
And Rosengarten? That's
And you add a championship level player to your squad, a guy that
yeah,
knows what to do in
that
what to
veteran.
do in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah, and I think that will fit our mold. But it's
Yeah,
wishful. It's all wishful thinking. But these are the types of moves we need to see a splash move. We need to
yeah.
see a Derrick Henry like move.
Moves. Like
Moves, yeah,
I
moves.
would love to see when the league year starts and the Raven, or even before the league year starts, like the Ravens are like, all right, they're restructuring this guy, they're restructuring this person. All right, they're getting ready for do something. They're getting ready to do something.
Yeah,
Oh, Ravens are open for
yeah,
business.
that's
Like,
exciting.
yeah. So let's that's what the Ravens want. I think the fans want to see. The fans want to see EDC do something, act like this, like we're gonna go all in. We're gonna open up the market. Now, look, not saying that all these things are gonna happen, but at least if
Yeah,
you, like I said, open up the money up to $40 to $50 million in cap space, we're ready to listen to offers. We're ready to at least try to make a run, get some of these guys in the building here to make something happen. That's all we could ask for.
yeah.
So, anyway, that's it from us. This will likely be our last episode before probably before the league year starts, probably in March, when we talk free agent signings and all that stuff, and talk about possible moves. And hopefully by then EDC has freed up some cap space or something's happened, prior to that. And then of course we'll do the draft and everything and start this all over again. Got my Orioles shirt on, ready for the baseball season. Ready to be disappointed again. Ready to be disappointed
Yeah.
again. As my coworkers say, apparently I'm just a glutton for punishment. I'm just a glutton for punishment. It's like, why do you keep doing this to yourself? I'm a fan. It is what it is. It is what it is. Oh yeah, Corey, I forgot about Jair Alexander. I forgot about that. But he's been hurt the last 2 years.
Yeah,
He's got injury
he's
issues.
good. He's also crazy.
Him and I feel like him and Marlon would be like hilarious together. It's like
Oh my
their
goodness. Oh, on the
personalities.
plane,
Man,
the victory
they would be
live. Oh
sick of
my
both of
goodness.
them. The Ravens like, I am
They would
sick of
have
both of y'all.
they would start a whole new podcast.
But I do like Jair. If he can, he's been banged up a little bit over the last 2 years. But if he can get himself right and stuff and play solid football, I would love to have him here. I would love to have him here. But
Yeah.
all right, that's it from us, and we'll catch you guys later. So hopefully somebody wins Super Bowl other than the Chiefs.
Yeah, beat the
Somebody, please.
Chiefs.
And in fact, I don't want the Bills to win it either. I don't want the Bills to win it either. Sick of the Bills. But they did.
I'm rooting for the Commanders, man.
They
I'm just
did do
gonna have
right
to
by
do
Mark
it.
Andrews, though. I got to give a shout out to the Bills Mafia, because they tend to do that every year. They always donate
Yeah.
to somebody's charity, and they're a good fan base. So, but still,
Yeah.
I don't want Josh Allen Super Bowl for Lamar. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
I'd rather Jaden get one.
Yeah, I'd rather go.
I'm
Yeah, let the
rooting for
Commanders go
everybody
ahead.
black except Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. All right, folks. That's it from us. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace.